think we're live.
It looks like we are live. So,
Hey.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dusty Coiner from Track Days here in SoCal, and I'm on for another Ask a Superbike Genius episode with Richard Stanboli from Fresh and Lean Attack.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dusty Coiner
and
from
I'm
Track
a
Days
total
here in
rookie, and I didn't mute my YouTube. But yes, Richard Stanboli from Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha Racing. And Richard, you're coming off another successful weekend at the Ridge.
Well, this is the most successful weekend of the season, right? Because we had a few of these last year, but I didn't have to pull the crazy eyes on anybody either this weekend, threaten anyone.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Richard. Appreciate that.
I'm going to call myself Crazy Eyes Dustin Stanboli.
Oh my God. You know what? I earned it, so I gotta just roll with it.
Don't mess with me, man. You
don't
know me very well.
You guys finished 1-2 both days, which is pretty impressive. You were continuing on with the story of Jake's just pure dominance of the series so far, and then we had the resurgence of your other rider, Josh Herrin. So what's up? How'd it go? Give me the scoop.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my boot out of Josh's, you know what? But anyway, I'm just kidding. He just came to the track feeling really good about how competitive he was, and he kind of came there with a little more positive attitude. Thursday was a little rough because he started backsliding once he started seeing Jake go really fast in Thursday's test session. But, I kept trying to keep him focused, and then Josh Hayes helped with it. Josh Hayes is starting to coach him a little bit on watching the corners, which is really important. It really helps with when another racer of that caliber, multi-time champion, comes in and says, hey, man, you're a little offline over here, you're a little offline over there. It's a lot easier for the rider to accept that than, Joe Schmo on a scooter. It was like comes over with a beer. Hey, man, you're a little bit offline over there. Yeah, whatever.
Right.
Thanks. You want a poster?
Yeah, I mean, Hayes definitely, Josh definitely has the credentials to throw around that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he spent 3 years with us, and then obviously Honda and Yamaha. So he's done three major manufacturers: Kawasaki, Honda, and Yamaha, and ridden a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah, he's got some pretty good credentials, and yeah, between him and us working on Josh for the last few races, I think he's finally starting to feel it, And I think it's pretty hard once you spend a couple of years on other motorcycles just to jump right back in and be at that pace. I mean, it took Jake basically all of last year and then to get up to speed. And this year he's showing what he's done. I think Jake's super focused. And like I said, he comes off out of the truck, and his mentality is, I'm going to smash everyone, So and unfortunately, it demoralizes the rest of the paddock. When you see a guy going a second faster than you, before they would say, oh, that's just Cam. Now, like, oh crap, now it's Jake too.
Yeah.
And then the riders go, oh, we suck, and then they get all bummed out, and they make their team do a bunch of backflips trying to make the bike faster, and they end up basically screwing themselves.
Right.
And I don't see our job at this point to be out there hurting the competition. I see our job is to make the sport grow, because it is growing and it is a little fragile. And so I think it's more important that we help the sport grow than it is to just go out there and totally dominate. But unfortunately, we have to do our job and, try really hard at every race like we do.
Yeah, I mean, going to what you said too. I mean, after the weekend, I saw quite a bit of chatter on some of the Facebook groups, and there's all these guys talking about how they should Moto America should add a bunch of weight to your guys' bikes and stuff.
Add a bunch of weight to our bikes. What is it? The you guys are too organized, a too fast weight rule?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean,
you guys prep too hard rule. I mean, what rule is that? Is that the same one where they give trophies to every kid that shows up to the game?
I think it was the T-ball rule. Everybody.
I get it.
Party.
This rule must have been made up in where? San Francisco or something? Or
Yeah.
Did Motor America move their headquarters to San Francisco? And we will all be homeless.
Oh my God. I didn't expect it to go there, but I'm glad it did.
Dude, we just came back from Seattle. You have no idea.
Oh man, that's really funny, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean,
I was homeless on Sunday.
You what?
Or Monday, I mean. No, was it Sunday? Sunday to Monday. I don't know if it was the heat wave or what, but every stinking hotel was booked up around the airport.
Yeah.
There were no rooms to be had. And so I just spent the night at the airport working on stuff.
A lot of people.
I had a 6 a.m. flight anyway, so I'm like, let's kick it for 8 hours and, watch a couple movies on my laptop, do a little work. And whatever, hop on the plane and get some rest. I mean, it's no big deal for me, but a lot of people have been, killed. But there were people pitching tents at the airport and people laying in behind every chair. And so apparently there was a lot of homeless people.
Basically like sort of like in California, everywhere.
Yeah, except this was at the gate.
Yeah. Nice.
Maybe it was a heat wave, I don't know. There was a lot of canceled flights and there was a heat wave coming through there. So maybe people the AC didn't work at their house. They got a hotel room. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, I heard quite a bit of that. Stephen Ludwig was up there helping out that privateer R6 dude, Tony Blackhall.
Oh yeah, I saw him up there.
He was saying that the airport situation was a bit sus. So, so watching the qualifying and the races and all that, I noticed something that I think it might be the first qualifying session that Q1 that Jake didn't end up on top. So, Baz, that was ripping. Like that guy was on fire, right?
Yeah, John decided not to put on a soft tire to do a lap. Their idea was John and Jake's was just to do some laps, and because we knew the pace, we knew what Jake was able to do, so they kind of just gave up that session. It wasn't that important, and they worked on distance and front tire wear and rear tire wear and different compounds and things like that. So it really used that session to kind of shake down the bike instead of, let me put in a fast lap. At the end, I asked John, John being John Cornwell, Jake's crew chief, I said, hey, you guys going to put a soft tire in there or are you guys going to put a new tire in there? Because I only have two options for tires. And one was hard or medium, I guess Dunlop calls it, because everything's a soft. And the next one was a soft. And then you get super soft and extra super soft and super duper soft and ultra soft and cosmic soft. And everything's a soft and Dunlop. But anyway, so they were on a medium and that didn't offer much grip. So then they put on the next one down, which is 0097, and just did laps on it just to see what the condition was. Plus Jake's hand was still a bit sore from riding on Thursday because of that crash he had at Brainerd. Yeah, going into this race, I'm like, it might be a good race between Baz and Josh and Skoltz and Jake, because Jake might have a hard time holding on the bike, but obviously he proved us wrong. Yeah.
Well, in that session also, that Q1, I mean, Josh went pretty quick too. I mean, he wasn't super far off. He was only like 0.5 off of Jake. So it's like, wow, okay. It looks like Josh is coming back,
Yeah. We on Thursday, we spent all day on the bike he's been racing. And then at the end of the day, he wasn't super satisfied with his progress because Jake put down a pretty fast lap on Thursday. And Josh's like, man, how am I going to make that up? I think it's time to change the frame. And I looked at him, I said, Will's not here. Will being our front guy, because he hurt his back. So all we had work on his bike at the time was really Lee and myself. And then Fernando, Fernando's an electronics guy by profession. And, he's been schlepping our tires the last couple of seasons, like few seasons, and just for fun more than anything. And we're like, hey, Fernando, why don't you do the front tire now? He's like, what? And so I said, look, Josh, we're not changing the effing frame. That was the last thing I told him. He's like, no, I mean, like we swap motorcycles and see what the other one's like. I said, look, if you go onto the T-bike, which is, we have a shared spare. So if you go on the T-bike, you have to stick with it all weekend. So if you don't like that bike, it's what it is. He's like, okay, it's what I want. I said, all right, let's do it. So then he rolled out in the first practice and didn't say much after that. So I don't think there was much difference in the bikes.
he actually asked me to mention that, and I was going to mention it anyway because the TV guys wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, what was the decision process like for that? Because they kept.
I just told you.
Yeah.
We're not changing the effing frame.
Yeah, it's like, let's swap the effing frame. That's how it went.
No, he said, I think it's time for us to change the frame, because he got in his head. See, back in the mean days when he rode for a mean, he liked one super stock bike over the other. And it was mainly because there was two different cartridges in the bikes. One was a I think they call them FKRRs, or what they call those things. It was like a racing cartridge with the spring-loaded pressure piston. Mm-hmm. And they had a prototype, and the prototype cartridge was taller than the other one. So even though they had the same stroke, same valving, same blah, 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 the one was a little different than the other, and Josh could feel it. So he hated one bike because it didn't give him the front end feel, and he liked the other bike. So whenever we try to swap bikes, he's like, I don't like that bike. When I was helping Mean during that Superstock year, what was it, 2016, when he won Joshua's championship. And so I think he got it in his head that, okay, it had to be the frame. If I change frames, maybe I'll get a better feeling for it. And of course, the frames are all CNC machine and exactly the same, and they weigh the same, and they flex the same, and everything about it's the same. You know what I'm saying? So
he did say that it felt more loose to him.
Which one?
When you swap bikes, he said it felt loose to him again.
Loose to him?
He likes. That's what he said.
Well, when we swap bikes, we also change the shock.
Okay.
Yeah, so because the data showed that you probably need a little more support in the back as you going through some of the G outs. But anyway, he came off the bike and there was really no real comment. He just wanted to do a bunch of laps, which was good because he went out and did a bunch of laps and started getting a rhythm, and he would get his fastest lap. Unlike Jake would go out and bliss the lap. And like on lap 2, he'd be at his fastest already, maybe lap 3. And Josh, he was doing laps like on lap 10 or 11, he was doing his fastest lap on the same tire. He'd just go out and stay out. And he was still kind of concerned about his pace. I said, look, man, you're doing those laps of lap 11 or 12, like mid 41s. I said, you got the pace. We just had to go out there and do battle. So we just kept on working on making the bike a little better. There were some things we did with the engine braking that it was too strong going into turn 13. On our bike, it fires on one cylinder when the engine's off. So all the other cylinders are off. So 3 cylinders are off, and it's actually doing all its deceleration on one cylinder. So that allows the throttle to be real open, gives you a lot of resolution on the throttle. So it was a little too strong going to 13, which is that what we call Lombard Street or the corkscrew or whatever the hell anybody wants to call it.
Right.
We're going the real corkscrew next week. But anyway, this past week, it was Lombard Street. And then also the chicane, which is also kind of a stop and go type situation. So I was getting quite a bit of skidding going in there. So we, just tuned up some of the EB and everything else. The traction control was pretty close. Just tuned it up here and there. The wheelie control was really, really close to where Cameron rode it. There was a couple areas after the race too that we realized we should have changed it for Josh, and Josh should have changed some of his riding style. Like coming down the hill. Remember last year we were talking about how Cameron didn't even use the brakes?
Right.
Coming down the hill?
Yeah.
That's because we clamped down the rear engine braking for him in those corners. So you could just roll off and the bike would hook the corner instead of him putting a lot of load on the front. Because when you're coming down that hill, it's basically the bike's on its nose. It's a pretty steep hill. You saw what it's like.
Yeah.
Over there. I think straight down, right?
Yeah.
So I put a lot of load on the nose of the bike. You don't need much more. So we use the engine braking to kind of slow the bike down and hook the corner. And then same for that second last turn, that carousel turn. Cameron would come out of that right and just gas it and then let off and kind of scrub some speed with the front and then hook that corner, double apex and shoot out of there. You're going to get a good run.
Right.
And all that was done with little or no brakes. where Josh was using a pretty good amount of brake going in there.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
there were some things too where, you know, when the guys aren't comfortable, they like to go for the rear brake quite a bit. And Josh was using quite a bit of rear brake in certain spots, and it was kind of upsetting the front.
okay.
You know, upsetting the attitude of the bike. So once we kind of figured that out and kind of smoothed that out, then everything started to click.
So watching Q2, it looked like, Jake didn't even go out for a long time, and Josh went right out, but then he had this weird problem with his dash or something. And later they said it was your guys' main switch.
Yeah, we got these, you know, I don't know, some people call them pod switches or something like that. They're like round button switches, and we got these aerospace level switch.
Yeah.
It latches down. You push it, it locks down, right? You push it again, it unlocks, and it turns off.
Right.
So the button stays down. Well, the button unlatched and wouldn't latch back. So hats off to Josh for figuring out how to ride the thing with one finger on the button and run the clutch and the throttle. I have no idea how he did that. He said, I got the corner worker to hold the button while I kicked it into gear uphill, and then I had to hold the button before it stalled and go around the track holding the button down. He came in with an arm pump. He had his hand like through the clamps into the dash, pushing this button down the whole way around.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah, so
kind of
I
funny,
don't know.
but it's also, I mean, it's impressive that he figured that out.
Yeah, I mean, he was cycling the bike, and then he realized that when you push on the button, the dash would be on, and then when you let go of the button, everything would turn off. So he realized, oh, I got to hold on the button. So it wasn't like it was on the handlebar. The thing was down near the dash, the main switch.
So you guys were able to swap that out pretty quick because he got right back out.
Yeah, we have spares in our crash kit in our toolbox. So we have all that stuff. I just had to rummage through it, and we were changing tires anyway. So by the time we got the tires changed, then we were good to go. He was supposed to scuff the front tire anyway for the race, and so he got it done pretty quick. You know, we didn't lose much time. We lost maybe 5 minutes or something.
So Jake goes out about 20 minutes to go, and 2 laps in, he goes right to P3, which is like shit. And then with 5 minutes to go, both of you guys went out, and I mean, Jake just 2 laps, just boom, like 39s.
5, yeah, 39.5, yeah.
I mean, the announcer
got the rhythm.
The announcer dude was just going bananas because it seemed like he was really rooting for Baz to get it, and Baz didn't get it. So then he's like, oh, but now this other guy is going to get the 39.
Who's the announcer dude?
I don't remember. The guy with the British accent. I don't.
Oh, yeah. What the heck's his name?
I forget what his name is.
Yeah.
It escapes me. You know, the only announcer I know is Greg White, right?
Well, Jason Pridmore.
And Jason Pridmore too, but Greg White's like the colorful.
And Roger Hayden.
Roger Hayden too. He wasn't announcing that one though. It was like Robbie Ford, I think.
Yeah, they go back and forth a bit.
Yeah, but yeah. So that guy was really seemed like he was rooting for Baz, and then Jake gets it, and then it just really shocked them to see Jake go and do another 39 immediately after.
Yeah.
So and the scene after the qualifying checker flag was over, they showed Baz sitting on the wall, and he kind of gave the shit, like he just missed it.
Yeah.
So you could see just the aggravation on his face. That dude really wants to beat you guys. Like he really wants to beat you guys.
I think a lot of people want to beat us, and like I said, honestly, if I step out of my role, I'd sure like to see some more competition in the front. But our role is to be as fast as we can every single weekend, be as prepared as we can, and all that kind of good stuff, no matter what. I mean, it's a short run to the end of the season, so we just work 24/7 until we get it done. And so if the other guys aren't willing to work for it, then, it's what it is. And if they beat us, they beat us. I mean, I think it's going to happen. There's going to be some bad luck. I mean, Josh's button could have failed during the race. It could have been bad. It could have been Jake's button that failed during the race. Just strange stuff. It's really weird. Some strange stuff follows Josh. I don't know if he's like kicking puppy dogs. He's away from the racetrack, or what the heck's going on there?
Josh has had kind of a weird season, right? I mean,
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, but it looked like he's back. I mean, I'm looking forward to that, more of that kind of version of Josh at Laguna. I know he goes good at Laguna.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he sounds excited. Like he really wants to get a W now. So
Yeah. Now a complete change in attitude between the beginning of the weekend and the end of race 2. I mean, he's really kind of on a high. And I remember them interviewing Jake, and I was kind of listening in while I was cleaning up the pit and getting my computers and stuff out. And they were asking him, "So, are you worried about your teammate Herrin?" And he's like, "Nope." I leaned over. I said, "You better be."
Right.
Yeah. So I'm really hoping that Josh gets up to speed and kind of gives Jake a run for his money and makes some pretty fun fighting up front.
Yeah. I mean, he did look he looked like the Josh that we know.
In race 1? Both
race. Yeah. Both races. I think race 2, was it race 2 where he tried to go around the outside of Jake in turn 1?
Yeah. I told Josh, I said, "Hey, once you guys, you're starting next to each other, once you guys play nice for the first few laps until you get away from the rest of the guys."
Yeah.
Apparently that lasted exactly one straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Jake was like, "Not today." That's what they were saying that he said. It's kind of funny, but it was impressive. I mean, he definitely, between both of you guys, it's unfortunate that this is the reality, but both riders kind of made everyone else look like they were silly,
I mean, them 4 guys that run into some difficulties, I kind of feel for those guys.
Yeah.
Chris's bike got totally destroyed, burnt to the ground, and I know how hard it is to put one of those bikes together, and wiring harnesses and all the bits, fuel tanks and all that. I mean, if we lost a whole bike, man, it'd be really hard. Crashing a bike's different than burning one down.
Oh yeah.
And so I feel for those guys, and now you're gonna feel for the Ducati guys. They're making the effort. I mean, what those guys have to understand is it's their first season. It's that rider's first season here. If they thought they're going to come in like Ben Spies did in World Superbike and win a championship first year around, it's a pretty tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially if the teams that are there are fairly established, and have decent riders, it's pretty hard to do. And so, I feel for those guys. I really hope they get, they get a little closer, get some better results, make some better runs, because I'm sure Jake is up for a fight, and so is Josh for sure.
Yeah.
You got in race 1, I was saying to myself, Cam Peterson's really up to speed. Like he's doing really good, and I think he's turning out to be kind of the star of that side of the M4 team. And he was right there chasing Josh down and trying really hard. And I said, well, it's one thing to catch Josh; it's a whole other situation to pass Josh.
Right.
I don't think he's going to give it up very easily.
Well, Cam Peterson definitely has progressed. I like him. I've known him for a few years. He's another one of Danny Walker guys. And I went to Danny Walker's what do you call it? Road race factory thing in Colorado on the supermotos. And Cam was one of the coaches there, and he rides really well, and he's riding and progressing on the superbike a lot faster than I thought he would. I think he's a lot faster than most people thought he would, including the team that hired him. But you could also, on the other side of that, you can see the frustration of Bobby too. I mean, that guy was fast towards the end of last year after his hand kind of came back, and now he's been having some issues. So between those two guys and then Baz, I mean, the end of the season might get really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bobby still has some hand problems, or he hurt his hand again in that crash. Or I don't know what the deal is over there, but I heard something. Heard some rumor about his hand goes numb after a few laps. He has a hard time holding on the bike, but hopefully he can get that fixed or that together. But I don't know the exact situation over there. But I know he's been struggling quite a bit, and so he hasn't really been in the action as much as I thought he would be.
So you were mentioning earlier about the loss of Will for the weekend because he hurt his back or whatever, and the show must.
Yeah, because he's weak.
Oh, he's weak. Okay.
Now apparently he hurt his back pushing the R6 around, and called me at 4:30 in the morning or something. Like sounded like somebody ran him over with a truck, said I can't make it, and yeah, so we're like, okay, reshuffle the people around and try to make it all fit. With first we got Marshall locked up in Nova Scotia,
right?
Out in wherever land, and then I'm like, okay, we don't have those hands. He's working remotely on the data, which he's doing a great job. And then now we have Will, can't move. So now we're down to 6. Like, what the heck?
You guys didn't have anybody to kind of fill in or anything like that
Well, actually, lucky for us, Bryce from Yamaha was coming up there.
Okay.
Just to give Tom a hand, Tom Halverson, because they go around and take care of the whole paddock, because there's more than just us in the paddock. I mean, you got the Westby guys, and you got a sprinkling of some R6 guys and some twins guys with MT-07s and soon to be R7s and things like that. So they have their hands in a few different teams. And so Bryce is going to go up there and do that. And we kind of recruited him to run the front, which he was already did for Cameron. And strangely enough, he'd already done that for Josh.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know if he brought good luck to Josh, or, maybe Will should just stay home and we'll get Bryce.
Wow. That's rough.
Just kidding, Will.
Sorry, Will. How about
Will's feeling a lot better. He's going to be at Laguna, by the way.
Well, that's good. I wanted to know if, because it was the Ridge, I wanted to know if you had your backup hobby data guy, Sven.
He I guess he had his mother-in-law in town or something, because he called me on the way up there, and I'm like, okay. No, he didn't come by, and I didn't get a chance to hook up with him, but it's been fun to have him around for sure.
So what's your take on, other manufacturers not joining the series,
Really? What was that? Got something in my throat.
Oh my God. So yeah,
especially that green team. I mean, come on now. You guys have some fast bikes and World Superbike. Come on, Dan Fahey and Bruce Sturstrom. Put a bike on the grid. What do you got to do to get off of 2009?
Wow.
I mean, really. I mean, Graves, put a bike on the grid. Let's fill up that grid with some real motorcycles.
Well, there's also the pirate bike too, right? The R.
Oh yeah, the Hardy R, the red one.
Yeah.
Triple RR.
Yeah.
I think that thing's pretty fast.
Yeah, Ashton Yates going pretty good on the thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they should put a bike in there too. I mean, the TV's getting good. I don't know what these guys are waiting around for. The paddock is, I mean, you'd be shocked at how full that paddock looked. I mean, it was a little bit of a tent city away from the tractor trailers. They had a lot of I don't know. I guess you can't call it privateers, because everyone's pretty much a privateer now. There's no real factory teams like M4 is a privateer team. We're a privateer team. Some people call us the factory team, but it's really run out of our shop. We get parts and bikes and stuff like that from Yamaha, but I wouldn't call it the factory team. We're the official team. So right. Factory team means the stuff's designed, built in Japan, and you run what they give you, kind of thing. Or it's built here in the US by the Yamaha Corporation. But that's not the case. It's all built here at Attack Performance. So yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really cool if some of those other factories got back in it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I can see them, instead of crushing one of Ray's bikes from last year, just bringing it here and putting it on the grid and grab one of those guys and moving. You got the musical chairs over there. Somebody's always getting caught out, and they have to go to that island to race. That BSB thing.
Right.
And they're way better off here because it's the same motorcycles.
Yeah. That would be interesting. I wonder if the other manufacturers will actually come back. I mean,
I really hope so. I mean, I think they're all out there running their pressure washers right now. So hopefully they'll get off the pressure washer and start tuning some road race bikes.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're heavily involved in the dirt. I think that's what you're meaning, right?
That's what you use a pressure washer for, to get the dirt off.
Yeah. So I just, I know the Green brand, they pay pretty good on the contingency side, club racing and at the national level. So it'd be cool to have them go that next step. I don't know about Honda. I don't know what they do. I know they're helping out Ashton somehow. But that's about it. But they used to be huge, right? Honda used to be like the biggest team.
Yeah, I know Corey Alexander is running that Kawasaki, and Richie talked to me about putting Corey on Superbike next year. I don't know what he meant by that. And we ran Richie Alexander, that is, from Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, it'd be really cool. I mean, anything I can do to help you guys, I'm good with that. Let's make the paddock grow. Let's get some more Superbikes in there. Let's get some competition. Let's get some fighting.
Yeah.
No one wants to see a parade of Superbikes.
He's Corey Alexander's one of those nice guys, like smiling face in the paddock, big old elbows dragging on the ground.
Yeah, he might give Baz a run for his money on the height.
Yeah, like
he's pretty tall. Richie was pretty tall, but Corey, I think
his arms are just like out there.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of questions rolling in. Marcus Jackson wants to know, what did you put in Josh's Wheaties?
COVID sauce? I don't know.
COVID sauce. Nice.
Nobody was wearing masks anywhere, which was great.
Yeah.
Except for the airport, which is terrible.
And the airplane, right?
Yeah, the airplane. They're not so strict at the airport. You just find your corner and sit there and play with the computer or whatever. They don't run over there and go, put your mask on, cover your nose. But on the airplane, they're still pretty strict. But all the restaurants we went to, we actually went to the same one over and over again. It's one Mexican joint on the way to the hotel.
Yeah. The walking distance from the hotel one?
No, not that one. There was one on the road on the way there.
Okay.
I think we went there before. The one we were in the corner. Yeah. It was all separated because last year you only could sit like groups of 6, even though you were family. Right. Or whatever it was, whatever crazy law they had back then.
Okay, so Andre Pettis says, can you ask Stanboli which setup is better for the 17 plus R6 and why? Would it be the FT ECU with the race team package or the GYTR kit with like a Translogic auto blipper, I guess?
Depends on your level of expertise.
Okay.
So if you want to spend a bunch of time developing an ECU, then you go for the FT one. If you want to just put something in and go ride the crap out of it, you put in the kit one.
Okay.
And probably the lap times, I can almost guarantee, are going to be the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And then that same dude wanted to know what your thoughts were on, quote, extended forks.
For which bike?
Probably the same bike. R6.
R6? Oh. If you're looking for a lot of trail, then you can extend your forks. I mean, it's depends on the track, depends on the tires, depends on a lot of factors, depends on spring rates and what your swing arm slope is in the back. And a lot of guys run some extended forks in super sport style, but we've never really been into the extended cap thing. Like on a superbike, we have longer than the standard superbike fork. There's 770 length instead of 750. So our forks come 20 millimeters longer, but we have, maybe between 10 to 16 millimeters sticking out of the cap anyway, sticking out of the top. So if we were to extend ours, it wouldn't be but a few millimeters. Works for the R1. But again, I mean, I don't know what class he's running in. Does he have a rake kit in it? Does he have triple clamps on it? I mean, there's a lot of variables, a lot of variables. But yeah, some people like all that trail. It feels good to them, so they extend the forks. It's one way of doing it without raking the bike out and changing the offset and things like that.
So your favorite commenter, multi-bad bass.
Bass. The
Bass.
fisherman.
Yeah, the fisherman, right? Yeah. He says if a race bike isn't necessarily doing anything wrong, but could likely improve with some fine tuning, what would your approach be? Like just start making small changes to see what he likes?
Normally we sit the rider down with a track map and we go corner to corner and say, how's the power? How's the traction control? How's the wheelie, anti-wheelie? How's the engine braking? Next corner. How's suspension? Is it steering properly? Is it running wide? There's like a list of questions for each single corner. And a lot of times the riders want to pick out just the trouble spots, right? Say, oh, it's here, it's bothering me. I can't get my head around it. Over here, it's bothering me. Or sometimes Josh says, this one thing, it just bothers me so bad, I can't even focus on the rest of the track. That was the Josh of 3 races ago. Now, Josh gets off the bike and says, the bike is perfect. I want to win tomorrow, which is way different attitude. But back to this question, it's corner to corner, and then you look at the whole map, the track map in front of you, and you make a decision on what you're going to change based on all that feedback. So it's not just let me do this, this, and this. In the past, I used to always say, go for the grip first, make the grip work, and then make the steering come along, like the rear grip. So get the drive. So
our favorite bass player, I hope that helps you.
Probably didn't. Sorry. That can't be super specific because there isn't any specifics to any particular motorcycle rider.
Yeah, he says he's got a decent base setting with spring rates, geometry, and valving working okay.
Yeah.
He's just looking for a little bit of insight on your approach to finding the best possible
Yeah,
step.
he wants to go a little better on what he's happy with already.
Yeah.
Yeah, start experimenting. Maybe go raise the rear of the bike up a little bit and see what it does, see if it adds grip or if it slows you down. Or lower it down if you're looking for a little more trail and you want the thing to slide a little more off the corner. So there's all those things you could do. What is he riding? R6, you said?
I can't remember what the bass player rides. I think he's an R1 guy.
R1 guy? Okay. Yeah, so there's some pretty basic stuff you do in R1. One is like we sell a clamp kit with if they want the rake cup, like what is in yours. You rake it out and then you make the wheelbase as long as possible. R1s love that. And then take a little bit of getting used to, to plow the thing through the corners, but man, do they love corner speed after that. Our R1s, they do well on cornering tracks like Ridge, not snap up and go, but flow tracks like that where everything is kind of bended around a corner and the heat, they do well in the heat. They do well in weather when it's like semi damp. Or it's drizzling or something like that. So I think all of that comes together on R1, the rake and the long wheelbase. So
he just said that, I was totally off. I thought he was an R1 guy, but apparently he's a ZX10 guy.
Oh, ZX10 guy. Yeah. It's been a while since we ran a ZX10, I know we changed the linkage on those things and we did change the steering head. Didn't change the steering head angle. We did change the trail quite a bit.
So Pettis Racing says, who would you pick if Boubier was racing in Moto America this year with how Jake is riding?
Who would I pick?
Yeah, Jake or Cameron, if Cameron was still on your team.
That's a tough one. It'd be a good race. It'd be really good racing.
Yeah.
Because Jake's been breaking Cameron's track records, but with that in mind, our bikes are better than they were last year.
Yeah. You said that you've been saying this all along. They're basically the same bikes, but just little fine tuning development stuff.
We have a new linkage, so that allowed us to run the bikes at a different wheelbase. And just, more time on the motorcycle. Our electronics are better than last year.
Yeah.
We've been, Marshall, since he's locked up in Nova Scotia, he's, that place way out there in the tundra.
Wow.
Anyway, eating lobster probably on his easy chair while he's watching the races. But anyway, so he's been able to really fine tune a lot of areas, the torque delivery and traction control and wheelie control and things like that, and really make the bike so much easier to ride that's brought the level up. I think that Jake is pretty aggressive. So when it comes to a fight, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think Cameron's pretty good fighter as well.
So Guy LaFontaine, he wants to know when you're going to come ride a track day with us. Yeah,
as soon as I get a day off. My boss won't give me a day off.
Your boss is a dick.
He is.
And then let's see. Christopher McCreary. He says, did you have to do any major changes to the bike to deal with the heat? Kind of like what you do for a wet race.
Our bikes are already at that configuration pretty much all the time.
Okay.
So I don't know if that gives you a little bit of a hint. I mean, to us, heat, wet, dry, they all have a similar character, but they take more force to make them react the same. Does that make sense?
No, but okay.
I'm glad you understood all that.
Yeah. You follow me? No.
No. In other words, the pace is, I mean, if you look at the lap times this year, it was actually slower than last year. Like Jake didn't get the outright race record, but he did get the qualifying record. So he was able to do one when it was a little colder. In the morning, relatively colder. It wasn't that cold even when he did that, 11 o'clock or 10:30, whatever it was for Q2. But when the heat really came up, the track started getting up there in the high 50s Celsius wise on the track. It became a challenge to do those lap times. But with that said, neither rider really complained about grip. At the end of the race, Josh said the grip was fine. Like most of the time, we get off the bike, said the grip was fine, and we just started chewing the front a little bit, And I think the front was kind of holding the whole show up, being that it was a new racetrack and they freshly repaved it. Even though they repaved it, you remember how broken up that track was?
Yeah.
The lap times weren't dramatically better.
Huh.
Maybe the heat, maybe it was the heat. But the TC and the torque delivery and anti-wheelie and all that stuff do their job. And so there was a track record and a win by 7 seconds or whatever.
Right. Like what's cool is, like I said, what's cool is Josh wasn't that far up. He was like 4 seconds, I think, on Saturday. And then, like you said, maybe 7 on Sunday. I forget which one was which.
No, Josh was, I think, 4 seconds back on Sunday.
Yeah.
But he was 7 seconds ahead of Baz. So
yeah,
I think that something like that, the 4s.
Yeah.
The first time was maybe in the 5s. He wasn't that far back in either one.
You could still see him.
Yeah, he could see him like a corner away. And I think that gave Josh a lot of encouragement. I think he started thinking about a little bit on Saturday about Cam Peterson, because Cam Peterson tried to hang on for a little bit, and then he made a mistake on the chicane, and that was it towards the end. But like I said, there would have been one thing for Cam to pass him, but it had been another thing for him to hold on to that position.
So Testa, Matt Testa, he's a customer of the shop. And first of all, he says he'd like to take one of those rate kits, please. And then he said that he just rode this past weekend at Auto Club, and his bike hated the heat. It was dead after 10,500 RPMs. He says he's bringing it to Joseph to retune it in a couple of weeks.
Huh, that's interesting.
He's got I think his is a 16 R1. Not really sure.
I don't know. Maybe his radiator's not big enough. I don't know if he's got any data on it. We should have a look. We run the MB radiators, and our bikes ran in the low 80s, even with that temperature where it was. So we can run our bikes all the way to 110 if we wanted to, but like the Ducati was struggling with the heat. They were blowing. They got their leaf blower blowing on the radiator the whole time that thing was in. And ours didn't miss a beat when it comes to heat, Plus, in that Seattle, Shelton area around that sound there, the air is really good. I mean, there's a lot of trees there, and you're sea level basically, and so any air passing past the radiator cools the engine down. So any bike that's struggling with that heat and temperature just probably didn't have a setup. Fontana is a different animal. That place is like the desert, and the air kind of sucks there, and all you have is pick up semi trucks.
Yeah, so Matty says he'll take a radiator too if you have an extra one.
Unfortunately, they're like a 6-week wait or something from MB.
There you go.
They're pretty cool radiators. We might actually have an H2O one here.
Yeah, I think we were saving that one for some project.
Some track day guy, maybe track days guy.
Maybe some douchebag that races one of those things out of your shop.
Yeah, he said I don't need it last time we talked. So
that's because he is poor.
Poor. Yeah, I think I have one H2O one left from 18.
Oh, Matty says he'll take it.
He'll take it.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have to fight me for it.
First guy with cash at the front door tomorrow gets it.
Oh, God damn it. Here we go. Okay, so and then Greg Arnold says, what are the hot temps of the tires off track? Are you and are both riders using the same compound?
I don't remember the hot temps, we didn't probe the tires that Dunlop guy did. I'd have to go back into the data and see what the tire temp data showed, but we were on a different bike with Josh, so we didn't have any tire temp data on that one.
Okay.
I think that Jake's bike had some tire temp data. It'd be interesting to see. I didn't even look at it, perfectly honest with you, but both riders rode the same tires on Saturday, which was a 129 front and a 0097 rear, which is, I don't know, super duper soft and just a soft. And then on Sunday, Jake elected to run the harder one because his front tire was kind of moving around a little bit at the race. And he went with a 2662 in the front and a 0097. Josh stayed on the 129 0097.
Testa saying he'll be there in the morning. Sorry, Dustin, it's mine.
Of course he said that.
Asshole.
You just have to raise his, price of entry to make up for it.
That. There you go.
There's always a balancing act somewhere.
Of course. We're trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, Carlo Manilow, he's one of my guys, actually. He said he just wanted to say thank you for these videos, especially now that he just got his kit ECU.
Yeah.
Apparently he's been playing our 3-part series on the GUITR ECU stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to replay it because Melissa, she's taking care of Melissa. Is she calling herself Hayes now? Paris Hayes? I don't know. Josh's wife.
That's what we call her.
Yeah, we used to call him Melissa's husband, right?
Yes.
So anyway, she came by the truck and with her laptop to ask some questions about the ECU and where to clip the power for Dunham, the Dunham kid. And I had to kind of been in Morelli land for the past few weeks. I had to kind of, maybe I should turn on my video real quick to give myself a refresher. And she's like, should I go to map 27 or map 26? I'm like, let me look at that manual real quick.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. I've been messing around with it on mine at the track.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to when you get some time off that you could put the dash of data on my bike, so then we could really get in there. I think
after Laguna, we have a couple weeks off.
Well,
that doesn't mean a couple weeks of vacationing. It means a couple weeks of hard work.
Right.
But maybe we can find some time to get that I2M. We have I2M dashes on our bikes now.
Yeah.
And they're pretty spiffy, man. I'm really pretty happy with them. The riders like them. The mechanics like them. Nice mechanics page with all the sensors on it. It's pretty cool.
So Chris McCreary is asking for it. We talked about doing the Jake versus Jake data.
Oh, okay.
Overlay.
Qualifying?
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, I like that. Like whatever his fastest laps were, you know. I mean, I know he did a couple of 39s this past weekend, and I know he wasn't anywhere near that last year. So, like Jake 2020 versus Jake 2021.
The new
Lombard
Jake?
Street. Lombard Street.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at how similar Jake is from Jake. You know, but he did learn some things, and he is putting them into action, and so I think that's paying off. So, what do you want me to show you some stuff? I could.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said,
real quick.
Lombard Street's a good place to see because I remember last year.
Well, there's a few areas actually where he's changed some stuff.
Yeah, but that was a big one, and I noticed the change on just watching the race. You know, I noticed his change in attitude there. And last year, he would go in there and it looked like he would just stab the brakes like super hard and accelerate really hard down the hill. And then through that left-hand carousel at the bottom, he would run super wide and kind of violently come off the corner. You even see it on the TV. And this past weekend, he looked like a lot like Cameron did last year, where he was able to hold a little bit tighter line at the bottom. And it looked like he was quite a bit faster at the exit. So
one thing I noticed about Jake, you probably see it if you watch Motor America Live Plus and you go back and watch the races. When they switch to him, you're like, oh, did he brake? He looked like he was going slow, so slow in the entry. And then he gasses it and comes off the corner. And I think that's one of the things that he is doing better this year than he did last year. Last year, I remember at Road America 1 and 2, he was complaining that he kept, as soon as he opened the throttle, he'd run wide because he was charging the corners a lot more. You know, he was like smash the brakes down and try to get in there as hot as possible. And now he appears to have a lot more patience and a strategy for exiting the corner. In other words, he has a plan when he goes in the corner. It isn't just get in there as fast as you can and get out. At least that's the way he looks. Now, you can ask him, he might tell you something different. But from the outside looking in, he looks like he's just crawling going in and comes out hard. But that crawling, you'd be amazed at how much brake pressure he uses at a particular lean angle. So I think Pridmore came by before race 2, I think, and he asked me to show him some data. And some of the data he looked at was brake pressure going into, turn 11, which is that hook at the top, that real tight first gear hook.
Yeah.
And how fast he grabs the 2 downshifts. That's one of the things he's improved this year too, is he got kind of, I don't know, brainwashed or got into a rhythm where he would space his shifts out. And that was one of the first things we noticed when we first tested with him. And we said, why are you doing that? Well, the Tenkate guys told him it hurts the engine if I make all the shifts at once. I go, what are those guys smoking? And I said, you need to make all the shifts right now. You're stopping hard.
He said, what are you guys smoking?
I don't know. These guys put all the wrong crap in his head, you know? And so we, John John and Marshall worked on him pretty hard to get him to get his back shifts done quick so that he can hold the brake pressure pretty evenly. So now he's like holding 9 bar pressure at 50 degrees of lean angle. So, I mean, this is like getting close to, you know, World Superbike MotoGP type braking, where you leaned over and you got the fork compressed and you don't really release the brake all the way to the apex. So he's starting to master that, and makes him look like he's got a pretty slow entry when he's actually just smooth and applying all the braking, kind of like Cameron did on the entry. You know, making all the back shifts at once. You don't get this movement on the chassis. You know, you get the movement done once. And so that's really helped him, I think, improve his lap time. But I could put up a little bit of data. I mean,
yeah, let's take a look. I saw a couple things in our little preview, and I was like, okay, that's different.
Yeah. So, all right, let me pop this up, and we've got kind of a rider page here, which shows a couple things without showing too much stuff. And so let me pop that up real quick. Let's see here. Which one is it? This one, I guess. No, that's the screen. Maybe that one. Share. You see it? Here we are. You there? Hello? Okay, what happened? Still there? No. Your audio's off.
Oh, look at that.
You clicked something and turned off your audio, you numbskull.
I didn't turn off my audio.
It said your audio was off on this side.
That's weird.
All right, here I go. I'm sharing again.
Okay, let's try it again.
Share. How's that?
I think it looks good, dude.
Okay, you're talking. All right, so here we are. So where do we want to start? So up here shows his throttle traces, and we can kind of blow this thing up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is going through. Now, don't pay any attention to the red line, because I guess last year during qualifying his GPS antenna was getting messed up, and so it shows him being all kinds of weird places, like in the hot pit on one of his laps and jumping. I don't know, instead of going right, going straight, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, but anyway, nonetheless, it kind of shows you where he is on the racetrack, you know, when you move the thing. So here we are going into turn one, and you can see where he's being much more decisive. Green being the 39.5 he did this year versus the 40.6 he did last year.
Right.
Much more decisive about his corner entry into the chicane, and able to really get the bike flipped over from side to side and get the throttle opened instead of feeding the throttle like this. So he's getting pointed a lot better and getting the shifts done. He's actually getting first, second, third, fourth going in there and actually grabbing a back shift back, which is pretty good, because that's a tough place to grab a back shift when you're leaned over the left. I don't know if he just made a mistake that lap, but obviously it was fast. It was a 39.5, so I couldn't make too many mistakes. Probably got a good head of steam going in there, and then that's going up the hill. So you can see he's much more precise about when to open the throttle.
It also looks like he closed the throttle earlier, right?
Yeah, he's more patient.
Yeah.
You can see here, we can zoom up on it, but basically going into one, pretty close to the same, and then you got the brake pressure there. And let me zoom back out again. And then as soon as he gets in there, boom, opens the throttle. Right after he does the flick. So you got this braking left, right, and then back to open throttle.
And then am I crazy here?
Up the hill he goes.
Am I crazy here? I'm also seeing the red spikes. Those are wheelies, right? Like from the bottom view.
Yeah. So this is the other thing that, again, we're talking about how we've improved the bike.
Yeah.
So you can see how much corner speed. Like this is front wheel speed. So I kind of want to show you this too. So going into that chicane there on the right side.
Yeah.
This year he's going 81.5 kilometers per hour. Last year he's going 73.6. So he's carrying a lot more mid-corner speed, and that's it's kind of funny. It's like a little role reversal. This is the kind of thing that we're working on with Josh that Jake had a problem with last year. And then he would stop in the corner, and then he would accelerate out, and then all these little spikes are wheelies. That's where the front wheel is slowing down. So he's doing a little wheelie there, wheelie there, wheelie there, wheelie, wheelie. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wheelies. So since last year, we've made the wheelie control a little bit better. So he can come off of there and not even really wheelie.
Yeah, I did notice on the broadcast a lot of times when there was a certain area where he would get these little tiny wheelies, and it was like repeating itself. I want to say it was like going up the hill towards that sharp left at the top. On the way up, the bike would kind of do a slight little wheelie, and then it would do another one.
Where is this at? Here? Like, see where the X's are? Yeah,
I think so. Well, it was actually, if you look at where the X is, it's it's past there. It's like that top, that super fast section there. What was that? Turn 7, 8? I don't know.
Yeah, so it would be, I don't have my track map in front of me other than this one. But yeah, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's like 5, I think.
Yeah, so
6, 7.
I think it was doing that in between 4 and 5, like on that little straight there. It was getting a couple wheelies there.
Yeah, there's a change direction there. So you kind of like if you look at the angle sensor here.
Yeah.
So you're coming through there kind of, 35 degrees or so, almost 40 degrees,
Yeah.
So you're kind of full throttle. And then you're trying to get the bike to change direction. It's a difficult thing to do going uphill full throttle. Right?
And
So you
that's how
flop it over to the right. And then
you can also
again to the left.
I said you can also see like how much more the bike was wheeling last year versus this year. Like that curve, aside from that one towards the end there.
There's two little ones at the end.
Yeah.
And then when you see the speed.
Yeah.
This is the area where you can see where he's a little slower in this section right here, getting the bike pointed, but look what he gains at the very end. So getting the bike pointed, he's gaining 4 kilometers an hour at the top of the hill. And in the middle section there, he's actually going 10 kilometers an hour faster.
Wow.
So he would just ride around the outside of someone if they were there. 10K, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
So if somebody was doing this red line last year, which is pretty fast, they got him a P2, but he would ride around himself this year in this section right here where I'm moving where the X is. So that was one area where he was really faster this year. That's what I said. And then again, you see where he was more patient going in, but then he was able to carry corner speed in this section. Yeah. And then that got him more speed again on the outside without a wheelie. You see the wheelie here? The wheelie's a little bit later. The bike's going in the right direction.
He was probably wheeling a little bit off as the pavement kind of drops away, right?
Yeah, the pavement drops and he makes a shift right there. He upshifts and then he backshifts again. And then after the bike bottoms out, so there's a little section you bottom out. And see that little blue and red little mounds right here?
Yeah.
That's right there, about there is where right before he starts to peak out on the brake pressure, right about here is where that dip is. So the fast riders will start to apply the brake and not really get the full pressure till after G'd out. Otherwise, it bottoms the fork out really hard. And you don't want to make the fork so stiff. You can't tune for that dip. You got to make the fork way too stiff to do that dip. You'd ruin the rest of the racetrack. So even though this track has a lot of G outs and hard braking downhill, you run a fairly soft setup there. So so then after you get into the G out, you're at 8 bar and you're leaned over to the right. So again, you're 40 degrees. This year, 42 degrees. You see it? Where last year, 34.7 degrees.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so he's got a lot more confidence leaned over on the brakes.
Yeah, I was watching him.
That's a lot more like what Cameron was doing last year.
Even his body movements don't look the same as last year.
Yeah, and you can see the same thing in Josh when you watched him. He spent a lot of time on the edge of the tire, which he hasn't been doing up until this race. So, which is really going to pay dividends at Laguna. So I'm really looking forward to Laguna because you spend a lot of time. You don't hardly go straight to Laguna ever, except maybe where coming out of 5, going up the hill. It's about the only spot for about a second.
Right.
Everything else is kind of leaned over somehow or another. Yeah. So again, about the same speed in the middle of the corner there because you can't really go much faster than that. But he's his lean angle, you can see it. 53 degrees right there.
But he's going faster.
Yeah. And then again, no wheelie, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff is a time waster. He's rolling off with a red guy. He gives a bit of gas. He's rolling off. And these are both Q runs. So he's going for it. He's doing all he can. He's not like fighting with someone or something like that. Well, and then you can see here, the anti-wheelie and the patience pays off because he's able to open the throttle over here. Where the green line is.
He's opening the throttle, holding it open longer, and then
no wheelie.
Also, if you look at that, if you go just to the right up there where you were, where the throttle drops off, like he's dropping it off. It looks like the angle's not the same. Like he's dropping it off more gradually.
Yeah, he's dropping it more gradually because he's at 43 degrees lean angle. He's not.
But then he's like using more throttle in the middle there. Like
Yeah,
So-
the graph starts to kind of run away from itself. So let me oops, let's hit the wrong button here. Sorry. So you kind of have to shift the data set because it is. So you kind of have to do one of these, you know.
Okay.
And that kind of squares up the data, and you can kind of see where he is. Again, more speed. And even though it looks like the throttle is more gradual, he actually was able to get to it sooner here.
Yeah.
Let me back up, get to it sooner, and then he rolls off, but not as aggressively as the previous year, and more lean angle. You know, and then he gets to, you know, 9.5 bar of brake pressure at 46 degrees of lean angle. And there was some laps where he was at nearly 50 degrees of lean angle with that pressure. So that's a lot of confidence in the front, especially in that heat. You know, and I think that's where our lap time comes from. Same with Cameron.
Wow. That's
So again, you know, more pressure, more brake pressure all the way to the end.
He's just way faster everywhere.
Yeah, and you can see here, you know, I gotta reshift the graphs again just to. If I had suspension data on here, what you normally do is you'll shift the graphs where the bumps align, and then you know you're on the same track. Because the GPS is, you can see where the GPS is kind of screwy.
Well, I like the red line.
failing.
I like the red line on the GPS there. He's got that like super fast line through the Lombard Street area.
Yeah, he just jumps straight from, he just bypasses the carousel altogether.
Dude, he had to go into the pits and get some granola for you guys right there.
Yeah,
right?
and he made a smoothie for us, like Eric Bostrom used to. A fruit smoothie. His girlfriend did come over with some plant drink that she had harvested somewhere in Washington.
Okay.
And she's like, "You want one of these?" And Tom Halverson's like looking it up real quick on Wikipedia to make sure it's not
my
like a psychedelic drug. It was all right.
Yeah.
Some kind of green thing that she gave us. It's like, "Oh, let's make sure this is really good for your digestive system," or something. I don't know.
So you guys,
It'd be funny though.
I noticed that, you know, Jake is a vegan, right? Like he's
Yeah, sort of. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he eats some fish, if I remember right. But yeah, for the most part, he's super healthy.
well, I noticed that
You know, he's the opposite of me.
I noticed
Or
that
you.
I noticed in that refrigerator that you have in your pit, you guys
Yeah.
have fresh and lean meals, and
Yep.
noticed that there were some vegan meals in there as well. I'm guessing that's for Jake and Tom, right?
Jake, Tom, and then also Jim Roach when he comes over from Yamaha. He's
Okay.
also a vegan. I made the mistake of asking them how they became vegan, like Jim Roach. And I ended up getting a lecture for about an hour. I kept looking at my watch like, we're going to be up in a minute.
Man. That's funny.
I didn't expect a lecture. I was just asking for some background info.
Wow.
It's all good. Maybe one day I'll be vegan.
You know,
When I'm pushing up daisies.
I mean, but like bacon tastes good. You know, like I
love bacon.
like eating meat.
It's
Like,
just going to kill you. That's all. I no doubt about that.
well, something's gonna kill you, right? I mean,
We're all going to turn to dust.
exactly.
It's just a fact.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, back to this trace. If you want to continue along here, finish this
Yeah.
up. But
I mean,
again, more positive throttle action
Yeah.
and a little smoother on the braking. Not as much panic stopping. You know, it's like 10.6 bar, but it feeds into it. So and
It
then
just looks like he's able to be more patient now, rather than having to charge the corner. And I think last year you told me that he had at one point 16 bar of pressure on the front brake lever, which was insane.
I mean, there's some crazy stuff. I mean, like here again, 13 bar. That's called a panic stop.
Yeah.
You know, from last year, where it's 10.5 bar. That's called a plan. You know, having a plan going to the corner, not a panic stop. You can see, even though he's 13 bar, he's going in there 5K slower and wheeling. You know, So you kind of see like the differences in how he rides a bike this year. You know, so it's a fairly, some of it's subtle to the average guy, but it's a fairly like decent improvement in style. You know, like for instance here, you got this coming down what you call Lombard Street. Cameron wouldn't even touch a brake in there at all.
Yeah.
You know, he would. Let me just shift this guy again.
You can see it too. Like you can see how he's going to the brake right there at the bottom.
Yeah, here it's like a lot less pressure, right?
And he would run wide there too.
Yeah, he's got a lot less pressure here than he did last year. And Josh, I guarantee if I put his graph up, he's still using quite a bit of pressure in there where he probably shouldn't. But still, you know, quite a bit of, that's what is that? Oh, that's grip, and that's brake, yep. So it's hard to sometimes get screwed up because the grip and brake are the same colors. So that's, see, I highlighted, that's brake. He's got a little bit of brake there. Like Cameron didn't even use that at all. And he had like, he would just have his finger covering it.
Yeah.
Flowing from one corner to the other, so slow. Like that action of gas and brake doesn't work in that section. So that's a place where I think a lot of people think they're going to make up time. It's just not worth it. And yeah, so then on the straightaway he goes. Like if you watch Motor America Live Plus, there's a nice shot of him coming through that carousel. He double apexes it, and as soon as he sees the exit, he's still got his knee down. He pins the throttle, and you can hear the traction control do its job, and he just gets shot out of that corner like a rocket. You know. So,
yeah.
So this is where he's correcting here. You'll still see that in some of Josh's traces where he's trying to still kind of get pointed, and where Jake is already pointed and he's 100% throttle heading down the racetrack, and that's where the lap time differences are.
That's awesome, man. Like you could just see it. You know, like I said, it looks like just the whole package has changed. You know, between he's more patient at the corner entry, the bike's not wheeling everywhere, and as a result, he's more confident mid corner now too. So wow, like I knew that would be interesting to see that.
Well, I say you want to focus on one corner, and it's really the whole racetrack.
Yeah,
it's the whole style. And if you put Jake up against himself, like from last year, Jake would ride circles around himself this year.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the proof is last year he did 40.6 was his Q time.
Yes, Q time, yeah.
Yeah, he went over a second faster than that. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the laps were, if you look at last year's laps, I think last year's race was faster overall, but the conditions were perfect. This year it was like the highest heat recorded in, Seattle's history or Shelton's history.
Well, that's what you plan on. You plan on dealing with the heat when you go up to Washington.
Not really,
No,
Usually you plan on, I know being sarcastic.
Right.
Usually you plan on dealing with rain.
Yeah.
And that's 2 years in a row, no rain. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Let's sell all of our cars and motorcycles.
Yeah, I guess we're all going to go electric.
And and give Al Gore all of our money. I think I'll stick with a motorcycle.
Okay, so Chris McCreary says what he's taken away from the data is Richard makes racing droids because that shit is not human. And I added shit in there because I just felt like
you wanted to.
Yes.
Can I say no? It is effing human and learn it.
I mean, the thing is, what you've done with the electronic stuff. I mean, there was a little bit of whining a couple years ago from one of the teams that's no longer around, but the reality is, like, the way you talk about your electronics and the way your guys.
You mean Danny Walker?
What?
You mean Danny Walker's team?
I'm not saying names.
I am.
I know you are.
That dude made it difficult for us to even get our first MLE system because the guys in Europe thought we're all a bunch of morons over here.
Wow.
It's just what it is. Just the facts. There's no hate there.
So Matt tested again says maybe I can help with this question. He's struggling with trusting the traction control to work. Any advice on how to gain confidence in those electronics?
What did we do with your bike?
Take power away.
Mm-hmm.
Take power away, make the thing super long, make the wheelie control work. Like I'm one of those weirdos that was doing wheelies. I was riding a race bike and I went fast, right? I mean, I went pretty quick.
With no wheelie
control. Bike with no wheelie control. And when I told you I had no wheelie control, you looked at me like I was tarded.
Well, I mean, why not use all the tools?
I should have like a padded cell and wear a straight jacket basically because of not having wheelie control on.
No, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, I got these bitchin' tires, but I'm going to take all the air out of them and ride around on the rims. You know, why have all those options? We don't use them.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, you know, I know Matt Testa quite a bit. And with the electronics, his bike doesn't have the same stuff that we have, you know.
What bike is it?
His is an older R1.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
like 16. So I think he's got the Flash Tunes stuff.
Yeah, you can still do a lot with that. I mean,
you can.
We won a championship in 16, and those are the maps we put in your bike when you were riding that 15 bike of yours. You know, with Josh's bike, and that was all torque related, pull and throttle back, and until he was able to open the throttle with confidence. So you don't really need to have all the bells and whistles we have. You can do a lot with what you have.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people have not done enough with the tools they have. And that's why I don't mind.
I will tell you my perspective with the GYTR stuff is just kind of wrapping my head around trust in the bike to just know that coming out the corner, we've set the torque to the way it's supposed to be. So coming out the corner, I just roll the thing to the stop because I know that's repeatable. And when I roll it to the stop, you can hear the thing cutting the power. You could hear it. It's like, you know what it sounds like. I mean, Jake's bike getting on the straightaway at the Ridge. That's what my bike kind of sounds like.
Yeah, I was talking to Jason Pridmore, you know, at the last event or the one before that, I can't remember. And he talks a lot about that, how the younger guys have adapted to the rider aids. Somebody tells them, hey man, just go open the throttle, and they go out and open the throttle, nothing crazy happens. They're like, oh, cool. So, but he's, you know, multi-time champion and winner of many AMA races, you know, and he still has that, you know, hey, I don't really want to open the throttle here all the way, you know, in the back of his head.
Yeah,
it's not right. You know, so it's hard for people to trust it.
Well, you know me, man. I've been doing this crap club racing for 20 something years, right?
Yeah, you're effing old.
Yeah, I am. You're
Formula 40.
You're but yeah, just wrapping your brain around that is, you know, for somebody like me, it's tough, you know. And you got, like, I still got to tell myself to do it. Otherwise, I'm just like, brr. And you see it in my video. You can hear the throttle opening in the video. And I'm like, man, I'm such a wuss.
Yeah. There comes that cough again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Testa wants to know if Josef can share that map when he brings his bike in. I mean, Attack has all the tuning stuff, you know.
The older bike, I think the map we built for Josh was in the 15 up model, right? The 15 to 18 model, whenever they changed the ECU, that flash page. I don't know. You know, I could look at Josef and see what he's got going on for that year bike, the mid-level bike there.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, don't be afraid. I would say also don't be afraid when Josef's done tuning anything. Don't be afraid to mess around with the different power modes.
Yeah.
You know, Richard had me on the 2015 bike running in power mode 3, and it was really funny. A lot of riders, they were like, "How the hell are you riding that thing that way or whatever? And what power mode are you in?" And when I told them 3, most of the time the riders that I was racing against called me a liar.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, well, okay, I must be a liar then. You know,
I mean, I can tell you a little bit of a factoid. I mean, pretty much what I understand is if you were to put our bike on the dyno versus that Ducati, we're considerably less. We put it up against the M4 bike, we're probably on par or less. And even probably the Colts' bike, we might be on par or less. And it isn't always about horsepower. It's about how you use it and maximizing it. You know, Jake was, he told me Atlanta, I don't really need any more power. You know, everything's cool, you know, because we have the option to make it more power. So why not just go for more reliable? After we killed that one in race one, you know, we went back and said, well, we're not going to do that again. You know, and we haven't yet, but you know, it could always happen.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the bikes make so much power now. Like it seems like we spend a lot of time in the pits making them make less power.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, there's all those ways to cut torque, and that's one of them is the throttle plates, and the other way is wheelie control, and the other way is traction control. You know, all those things remove power, and that's what all the rider aids do, because people want to open the throttle all the way to stop, and sometimes it gets them hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my experience with the thing, I mean, you know, I was the wheelie idiot, right? Like I was the guy that got yelled at for doing wheelies during a qualifying session, right? And I joke, but you know, my new bike doesn't really wheelie much at all. I mean, a little bit over the wheelie bump thing at Buffalo, but other than that, you know, other than maybe those little tiny wheelies, it doesn't do that big shenanigans type. And quite frankly, it won't. Even if I try, the thing won't.
Did you watch the MotoGP at all? This last one?
I did not watch the last one. Not yet.
Quattro's bike, I was really surprised at how loose that bike was. And actually, I think they're trying to get the most amount of power out of it because Ducati's so fast. But that thing was wheeling, you know, a good 50 to 100 millimeters, just about everywhere, and shaking its head over the curbing. And it seemed like a wilder and woollier ride than I remember the GP bikes being in the past. You know, that caught my eye when they had the thing in slow motion, and the front wheels are pretty high for a race. You know, it wasn't like he was showing off. That was a race lap. So they're allowing him to wheelie a little bit more, trying to get the most acceleration out of him. And so that's stuff we fool around with too, you know, just trying to get the most acceleration on the bike, regardless of the wheelie height.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, it helps with the confidence in the thing too, because sometimes the wheelies could get pretty distracting, and then the thing is like hard to ride, you know.
In the wrong spot, right? So,
right.
I mean, sometimes when you're popping the bike from right to left, you want the front tire to come off the ground a little bit, you know, kind of pogo on, like pivot on the rear tire.
Right.
The GP bikes do a lot. And when the front wheel is down, it's harder to do that. So sometimes you want them to come up, and other times, it's going the wrong direction, or it's slow. The rider wants to roll off because the thing's too high of a wheelie, and you don't want to do that. The ECU is way better at rolling the throttle off than the rider is. The rider's always behind the 8-ball.
So let me ask you this. Is there anything different in the cards for the team for Laguna? Are you got any magical parts and sorcery that you're going to throw at the bike to get around the lagoon?
Just improving on what we had last year. We already know how to go faster over there. I mean, Cameron, I think, might have set the race lap record, and Josh has the outright qualifying lap record. And so I think he did 22.9, and Cameron did a 23.1. So that pace is basically World Superbike pace, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we'll just go and we'll do our thing. You know, what we've been doing the whole year so far is, I think there's not enough time to put any magical bullets in there. Usually those things turn around and hit you in the face, you know? So it's better just stay consistent and show up with what you know.
Right. And like you said, you're getting Will back. So that's, you know, one extra set of hands again.
Yeah.
The rotor.
If you get bend over enough, pick up a tire.
You're gonna make Will wear is he gonna have an attack branded girdle?
Yeah, he's gonna have one of those Home Depot, you know, straight jackets on.
He's totally gonna kick my ass when he sees this.
Whatever.
Or whatever. It was worth it. All right, Richard. Well, it's been a good chat, man.
Yeah, man.
I guess I'll see you at Laguna.
Sounds good. We'll see you there.
All right, man. Good luck.
Later.
And all that.
Yep.
All right.